Flicker by Mary O'Hara. Chapter 6. The mile square stable pasture, so called because it was nearest to the stables, was a terrain of startling wildness and beauty. A broad runway of level grass went along the county road fence on the south. North and west it ran into low hills with a sparse, erratic growth of large twisted pines, and the soil here was a shallow layer over a mountain crag which broke through everywhere in cliffs and sharp stone teeth. Out of the rock clefts grew pines and junipers. At the base of the cliffs were caverns in which were skeletons and piles of bones, remnants of wild animal orgies. The cliffs overhung fragrant little dells where mushrooms and lakespur and strawberry plants pushed up through the loam and pine needles. Going north, the hills and cliffs became steeper, and at last, in a series of broken wooded steps, plunged down to the level of Deer Creek, the mountain stream which formed the northern boundary. The stable pasture was an endless field of exploration for Howard and Ken, just to find a new path up or down the steps without getting pocketed somewhere from which there was hardly a way out was a day's delight. Nell loved to wander in it, or to take a book with her for a whole afternoon in some small secret dell. Here, all summer long, the mysterious shapes of the deer stole like shadows across the shafts of the sunlight. One couldn't sit very long, quiet and still and watching, without seeing the slow determined movement of a porcupine, or the serpentine undulations of a pretty white-striped skunk, or the awkward plunges and playful tumbling dashes of whistling pigs, or the continuous soft movement of gophers, cottontails, and jacks. If there was no meat for dinner, Nell or either of the boys could take a 22 and spend an hour in the stable pasture in the late afternoon and bring home half a dozen tender young cottontails. That night, Rocket had the pasture all to herself. She had made the rounds of it several times. She stood now at the closed gate which opened on the county road and looked across at the grassy slopes of the Saddleback. They shone a bright silvery grey under the moon. Suddenly she lifted her hind leg like a dog, swung her head savagely around and tried to butt her bag. It was hot and bursting. She turned again and stood motionless, looking up at the range, her ears pricked. She started off on a fast trot along the fence. With long thrusting strides she made the ground run away from her. Her big haunches crinkled with each piston stroke. Her head was high, nose reaching up, her sparse regular mane fell untidily, part on one side, part on the other side of her neck. The frayed piece of lariat was knotted about her neck and hung under the mane. A fine line of white ringed each eye. She had an angry, crazy look. She stopped at the corner of the pasture where another barbed wire fence came in at right angles, standing there, throwing a far-piercing gaze into the distance, her ears moving incessantly. She trembled to every sound that drifted on the still air. Suddenly she started off again, following the cross fence. All in through the rough and varied terrain of the pasture ran threads of paths. Rob had found a way down to Deer Creek for the automobile. The horses knew it from birth and covered it all, clawing their way up, leaping from ledge to ledge, sliding down in their haunches, sure-footed as mountain goats. For an hour, Rocket scoured the pasture, crashing down the steps to Deer Creek, forcing her way through the thicket on the other side of the stream, standing at the northern fence, sniffing. Far over yonder were the hay meadows, Castle Rock Meadow farthest of all. It was the breeze that played over Castle Rock Meadow, the aspen grove at the far end, that she wanted to smell. But for all her searching and listening, there was no little whimper for her ears, nor the touch of fumbling warm tongue and lips upon her bag, nor the closeness of a nimble little shape running at her side. After a moment or two she continued her way along the fence, going at a long swinging trot, then turned another corner and began to climb, and finally had made the complete round of the boundaries of the pasture once more. She came out of the pines, cantered down the hill, went past the stables and pulled up at the county road fence. Standing here, she sent a loud ringing neigh into the night, hurling it like a fierce accusation. A mile or more away on the saddleback, Banner heard the neigh and pricked his ears. He appeared to appraise the importance of it, dismiss it as making no immediate demands upon him, and swung his head back again. The cry was heard, too, by the band of yearlings, grazing quietly on the other side of the crest. A little golden filly, who might have been Banner in miniature, raised her head sharply and stood alert, listening. The loud angry neigh came again, and the sorrel filly neighed in reply, and flung herself into a gallop. On the crest of the hill she stood, looking down at the county road and the stable pasture. Rocket's head was lifted and her ears strained forward. She had heard the whinny of the little sorrel, and shuddering took her. She began to prance up and down inside the fence, then turned and galloped away from it in the direction of Castle Rock. She had cried for her foal. There had been an answer, and one that touched her maternity, but still not the voice of the little one who so lately had been part of herself, and she was confused, and in bewilderment galloped towards the dark woods that lay between her and Castle Rock. The yearling filly neighed again and plunged down the hill towards the road. The voice tore at Rocket. She stopped, turned, an answering neigh broke from her, and suddenly indecision left her, and she reversed her direction and galloped towards the fence. Very few untrained horses are jumpers, and a western mustang will always break through a wire fence rather than leap it. But the joy and eagerness in Rocket's heart gave her wings, and she made a beautiful, clean jump over the wires, and the two horses rushed to each other, pressed their cheeks together, intertwined their heads and necks with loving, excited whinnies. Rocket wanted more. Her bursting bag, this colt, as well as the little one she had lost. Surely this yearling child of hers could take the milk that was causing her agony. Her voice coaxed. She turned herself in the proper position to the little sorrel and whinnied again. But the yearling had been on grass for 6 months. The instinct to nurse was dead. It stood, unresponsive, head turned back towards the hill, where now it heard its comrades running. Rocket whinnied again in desperation. She swung her haunches close against the colt. The youngster answered with a sensitive and affectionate neigh, and turned to rest its head on top of the mare's haunches. Rocket moved closer. The golden head slipped down and sideways. At last it was there, reaching under, fumbling for the teeth. Rocket stood motionless, her head turned over the haunch of the nursing yearling. An hour later, the black mare and the golden yearling were cantering side by side. They had left the ranch and the saddleback far behind them. Ahead of them were the broken headlands of the Colorado border, and in their nostrils the smell of the snow from the faraway mountains of the Never Summer Range. It's the end of chapter 6. Good night.